Hey, boys and girls. So I wanted to make a quick video because this has been a real pain in the neck, getting this clutch replaced. I made several mistakes, even though I watched all the videos out there. And I noticed that the reason I was making a mistake was I did things in a way that the videos didn't do, which made things a little bit more difficult for me. So I just wanted to give you a couple tips and tricks. So first things first, you must, there's no way around it. You must remove these rear sets. Super easy. There's just these two bolts and the third one for that connects to your pipes. So that's the easiest part of this whole project. So if you don't do that, that's silly. Second thing is, you undo the bolts. They recommend doing it in like crisscross order. So don't do it in pattern like that and just do it a little bit at a time, because you don't want to unseat that improperly and cause an imperfection, right? So then what happens is you get this guy off, and very likely a lot of your gasket will be stuck to this. You can look up lots of tricks online for how to remove a stuck gasket from your crankcase, but I don't really want to get into that. It's a difficult process. Just make sure you don't scratch it up or gouge it or anything like that. I probably scratched it up a little bit, but I didn't put a gouge in it. And if you do, you can always go over it with like steel wool if it's a very minor thing. That's that. Okay, you get all that done. Then it comes time to take this assembly apart. Now, I've already put it back together, okay? But I just want to go over what I had to do. This guy comes out. You just follow the instructions as how to, undo these bolts. I'll link the video that I followed below, because that video is very good, okay? Except it leaves out a couple of things. Find yourself just a piece of aluminum like this, okay? This is a very thin piece of aluminum. Make sure it's aluminum. Don't use steel. You want something that's softer than the gears in your motor, okay? Softer than these, so that if it's a battle between this and that, then this gets damaged and not that. So what you want to do is you just want to, as you're loosening and tightening things, you're just going to shove that guy right inside there. And what will happen is as the gear turns, it just bites down on it. Now you could try to prop it perfectly like so, okay? And that may work, but it turns out you don't need to. All I had to do was just literally just stick this in here for just a second. And honestly, it's not even putting down much force on it. It didn't even pinch the aluminum. Okay, it certainly didn't damage that piece of metal. So that's what you're gonna need in order to keep these gears from turning on each other. But that's not enough. So the mistake I made, okay, was I undid these 3 screws and I removed the pressure plate, and then I tried to undo the fancy nut that's behind here, which you need this special tool for. By the way, don't start this project without this tool. I'll leave a link in the description. You have to have this tool. There's no way around it, okay? You can buy this on Amazon for like 10 bucks and it works perfectly. I'll leave you a link to the one I bought so that you're sure it's gonna work. Because there's dozens of these online and I've heard stories of some of them being too short and not working. So I got this, and then, so the mistake I made, like I said, is I undid these, then I tried to undo that. The problem is, without the pressure of these plates pushing against the clutch, the internals of this will just spin. So it'll be really hard for you to undo the interior nut. So what I would do is I would take something like this and I would hook it inside and I would pull this bearing out, which I actually replaced mine. You don't need to. I just got a new one because I figured I'm doing all of this. Might as well put a brand new bearing in it. Anyway, you take this bearing out, and then your tool should fit right through here, and then you should be able to undo it only. You should be able to just use your impact gun and boom, get it out of there. You could just use a wrench, I think, because at that time, there's tension on it and it shouldn't spin. Here's what happens if you remove these first. There will be no tension on that. So the whole thing will spin and it will try to spin the back wheel. So then you're sitting here trying to like apply your brakes to keep the back wheel from spinning as it's a mess. Same thing applies when you're putting it back together, and it's very important. Put these on first. Okay, you can screw the washer and the nut behind this on. You'll know what I'm talking about when you get there. It looks a little bit like, what did I do with it? Oh yeah, it looks a little bit like this guy. It's the smaller version of this that goes behind here inside that hole, right? I don't want to undo it right now, just to show you. But anyway, you want to put these on first, torque them down to 9 foot-pounds, and then you can torque the inside one on with this special tool to 47 foot-pounds. Now, you may be wondering, how the hell am I going to do 9 foot-pounds with a torque wrench on a bolt that's this size? Okay, because my torque wrench, right? This thing is way too big to fit in the in my 10 millimeter socket. Okay, and I don't have a 10 millimeter socket that takes that, and I don't have a reducer. So here's what you do. Here's a little trick. You put this guy here, and I'm using my hands to hold the camera, so it's going to be hard to explain. But here, let me explain to you. You measure the length of this. Mine is this is just about 6.5, almost 7 inches from, you want to measure from the center of this axis to kind of the end. Then you take a luggage scale, you put it right around there. Now, if you've got a foot-long ratchet arm, good for you. You're very well endowed ratchet arm. This one is 6.5 inches, Jesus. Okay, so then what you do, if you want to do 9 foot-pounds and you have a 6-inch arm, you're gonna have to do 18 pounds as you pull. So I just grabbed this and I pulled until this read 18 pounds. And that's 9 foot-pounds. If it was a foot long, then I would just pull until it said 9 pounds, okay? I got these two probably a little more than 18 pounds, okay? Or 9 foot-pounds, I mean, a little bit more than 9 foot-pounds, but I'm hoping that's okay. They're about the same. This isn't as exact as using your torque wrench. But I was able to get the nut inside exactly at 47 because I can dial my torque wrench into 47. And, if you have a reducer, okay, that can go from your torque wrench to your socket, good for you. You should do that, okay? But I don't. This is my torque wrench. That's how big it is. And I don't have socket, like a 10 millimeter socket that would fit that. It would have to be a special socket. Anyway, so that's that. And I think that's the hardest part. The other hard thing that you'll hear everybody talk about is getting this thing flush. Now I want to actually show you up close what this looks like when it's all said and done. You see, this is a tapered edge. That taper edge is just about flush. I mean, everybody says it's flush, and yes, it is flush, but it's a very small hair past flush on here, okay? And the way you do that is this plate here, goes inside that little housing, and it's got these little grooves at the bottom, and it has to and it only fits a certain way. The way you want to make sure, and the other video covers it well, as you're taking it apart, just mark which stem goes with which side of this thing. And I marked this, it's already gotten wiped. I marked it with like a Sharpie. And that's the way you get it back in place. And once you've got it back in place and it goes in this far, then your spring should go in fine. Now I'm using these SMR 60%. Actually, the this is a Koso plate. I'm using this thing. These SMR 60%. God damn it, this isn't it. These are my plates. There it is. These SMR 60% clutch springs. That's what I'm using, which makes it a little bit harder to push this in and get these bolts in. But if you, okay, so here's a tip. If you find that your bolts can't even reach the back when you're pressing on them to grab hold of those threads, that means you've got this thing assembled incorrectly. You should have enough room, even with these SMR springs, to press and get the first couple of bolts, you know, the bolts in, at least a couple of threads, and then you can ratchet down on them. One other tip that none of the other videos that I saw covered, when you remove the crankcase, there's this little piece that seats in here, okay? It may fall out, and you may be wondering, where the hell did that fall out of? And that's where it falls out of, right there, okay? It's the only other hole other than this bearing. And don't get it in your head that you want to replace this bearing like I did. This bearing doesn't come out. I think what it is this heat shrunk in there. So it's like they heat up the crankcase, they put the bearing in there, and then when it cools down, it grabs it, because I've tried everything and it won't come out. And I feel like I'm like an idiot for trying for so long. Hopefully I haven't damaged it. It still spins around, not wonderfully. That's why I was going to replace it, but I don't know if that bearing is all that important actually. So yeah, that's where this is.